All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rafi Chaudhry here with Influencer Spotlight, and today I'm gonna be talking to you guys a little bit about the most basic structure that majority of publications want to see when you pitch an article to them. So let's get started. So, majority of the time when we pitch an article, kind of what I see is this. So if this was your sheet of paper, I see a title at the top, and I see most people write paragraph, big paragraph, 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 paragraph. Okay? And that's it. That's how their articles are. Well, the reality is that that kind of structure is very difficult to read because there is no cohesive beginning, there is no middle, there are no bullet points, there's no outlining format, there's no end, there's no outline to it. There's no structure to that. So majority of publications don't like this kind of style. After writing for over 24 publications around the web, I've learned that there is a structure that most of these big name publications tend to like. And here is that structure, which I'm going to give you guys right now. I'm not saying that every single publication out there will accept this, but majority of them, majority of the articles on big name websites like Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, Huffington Post, Fast Company, Business Insider, you will see that there's a very, very similar format to their articles as this one. So, when I write a pitch for a site, here's how I write mine. The first thing I do before anything else is I do a lot of research to figure out what this publication actually accepts. I research to figure out which section of this publication do I want to get published in. Is it the science section? Is it the writing section? Is it the business section? You know, it varies. And then I try to find what sort of topics and articles have already been accepted in this publication in this section. And based around that, I'll come up with some sort of an actionable article idea, something that's going to educate my audience. So once I figured that out, here's how I outline it. So my articles look something like this. If this was my piece of paper, I will begin by having a title at the top. I will then have something called an intro or a briefing section. So that's basically is going to be a pretty decent sized paragraph. Then I'm going to have actionable advice number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. Depending on how you write it, how long the requirements are most. The average publication will accept articles between 700 and 1200 words. That's the average, 700 to 1200, and it varies between publication. So I've got my intro, I've got my actionable advice 1, 2, 3, and then I'll have some sort of a paragraph that's like a conclusion / wrap up. Okay? So, in my intro or brief, I'm basically going to talk about the different things that I'm going to cover in this article. So if I'm writing an article about 7 things that I learned about writing a 7 things that I learned about sharing a good whiteboard presentation. That's my title. I'm going to say in my intro something along the lines of, when it comes to making whiteboard presentations via video, it can be very, very confusing. We've learned that it's hard to get the point across when you're writing on the whiteboard because of blah, 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 blah reasons. And a lot of times people go astray and their whiteboard videos don't actually end up getting as many views and as much watch time as possible. So I've actually but however, after making hundreds of whiteboard videos, I've found 3 simple, 3 things that are consistent among making whiteboard presentations. So I've decided to take my time and share them below. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? Tip number 1, lighting. Good lighting. Oh, it's bad. Good lighting. Tip number 2, I need to know this tip. Good handwriting. It's really hard to write on these boards. My handwriting is not this bad usually. Okay, tip number 3, something like, it's not just one word, but maybe you want to have a sentence. Something like, make sure to speak clearly. Okay, so you want to basically put your 3 topics down, or 3 or 5 or 7, whatever it is. Underneath each one, you're going to have a paragraph. Okay? So again, I know it looks really messed up, but here is kind of the structure. Your title, your intro/briefing, your main actionable advice number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Odd numbers tend to do better usually. And then followed by conclusion. Now underneath each of these headings, you're going to put a paragraph underneath that as well. And in that paragraph, you're going to expound on that particular topic that you're mentioning, that particular actionable advice that you're giving away. So like, for example, handwriting. So you could say something like, make sure that you have legible handwriting that even a 4th grader can understand and read. Okay, and then you're going to write a paragraph about the importance of handwriting when it comes to making a good whiteboard presentation. Okay, you're going to talk about that, but then most importantly is you're going to share your experience. You're going to say, after doing 173 presentations, I've learned that my videos on average got 2 minutes extra watch time when I wrote neatly versus when I didn't. Using numbers and stats really help a lot in proving your point. But you can obviously use your own experience with it, and it doesn't have to be a stat or a number, but talk about your experience with that. But most importantly, talk about other people. You could say, according to a study done by animation video company XYZ, it shows that whiteboard presentations tend to have, on average, 15% longer watch time than do presentations without a whiteboard in it. Okay, and then back it up with by citing the resource. How you cite the resource varies from site to site, but in general, you can usually link that statement. It's called an anchor text back to where you found that study, or just put in parentheses according to a study done by blah 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 or something like that. So you need to make sure that you cite your sources. You need to make sure that you use a ton of numbers, and you need to make sure that you use your personalized experience and examples, and that you tie it all back together to that particular point. And ultimately, in your conclusion, after you've done this, on all your actionable advice points, you're going to tie everything back to the title and the intro again. You're going to tie everything together, and you're going to say something like, so we've learned that, whiteboard videos are a great way to get your knowledge across. But when making whiteboard videos, it's easy to go wrong. So the most important things to keep in mind are good lighting, good handwriting, and what was this one? Make sure to speak clearly, and blah blah blah. And we've learned from majority of people notice, don't do number 2 right or number 3 right, and they miss this or that. But if you do this kind of things, you will be very successful. Here is some examples of why that should be, and the end. Okay, that's it. Really, it's just this simple. This basic structure for writing articles will significantly help you, and not only in writing your content for big name publications, but also your own content will now start to have a structure where it's not just one giant block of paragraph or a bunch of random sentences, but it's going to have a definite title, definite intro, definite actionable. Make sure these advices are actionable. That's the most important thing, is they need to actually be something that people can go and implement and do, not just like random things. So your advice 1, 2, 3, underneath each one, your personal example, and then also examples of other big name companies or organizations or other research studies that back up what you're saying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you want to have, and then some sort of a wrap-up or conclusion that ties point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the title and the intro all back together, and you kind of summarize everything in your conclusion. And that, my friend, is the basic article structure that I think that most publications will want to accept. But again, like I said, varies publication to publication. So if this helps you, share the video. Let me know in the comments that this was something helpful for you guys. and make sure that you guys reach out to me and let me know what other videos I can make for you guys to make your job easier when you go out there and you pitch big name publications. Thank you guys so much.